Rome burned for 6 terrifying nights. While the city crumbled to ashes, Emperor Nero stood silent. Some say he even watched with a twisted smile. But the true horror began after the flames died out, when Nero unleashed unspeakable cruelty on a helpless group, the early Christians. This is the story of madness, blood, and terror that marked the darkest days of Rome's empire. Rome under Nero was a city of dazzling splendor, but soaked in terror. The emperor's hunger for power was matched only by his cruelty. When the Great Fire turned the city into a hellish inferno, Nero didn't just stand by. He turned disaster into a grotesque spectacle of blood and fear. The Christians, a small and misunderstood sect, were made scapegoats. What followed was not just persecution, it was a calculated campaign of torture, humiliation, and death designed to crush hope itself. Born Lucius Domitius Ahenobarbus in 37 AD, Nero was adopted by Emperor Claudius and became ruler at just 16. Early on, his reign showed promise, a patron of arts, culture, and games. But Nero's facade, his outward appearance, masked a monster. Though he seemed cultured and generous, underneath lurked a ruthless and paranoid tyrant. His mother, Agrippina the Younger, Nero's mother, who helped put him on the throne and initially acted as his protector, soon became his greatest threat. Nero's paranoia grew, and his cruelty spread. He orchestrated the poisoning of his stepbrother Britannicus and banished his first wife Octavia, whom he later executed on false charges. Senators, generals, and anyone suspected of disloyalty vanished. Some forced to commit suicide, others brutally executed. Nero reveled in his power and descended deeper into madness, making Rome tremble in fear. In July 64 AD, a devastating fire tore through Rome's wooden buildings, burning for 6 days and nights. Homes, temples, and public buildings were reduced to ashes. Rumors spread that Nero had started the fire himself, watching from his palace as Rome burned. Whether true or not, it symbolized his callousness. He used the ruins to build his vast golden palace, the Domus Aurea, a monument to vanity amid ruin and suffering. But the worst was yet to come. Christianity was a small, secretive faith, refusing Roman gods and the emperor's divine status. They were misunderstood and feared, accused of cannibalism, atheism, and other monstrous crimes. This made the Christians perfect scapegoats in a city desperate for blame. Agrippina the Younger, Nero's mother, was once his protector, but quickly became his greatest threat. Nero planned her death carefully. He rigged a collapsible boat to drown her. But Agrippina survived, swimming to safety, soaked and furious. Frustrated, Nero sent assassins to stab her to death in her villa. Some say he watched her screams echo through the marble halls as she died, cursing her son. A son murdering his own mother, the ultimate betrayal bathed in blood. Nero's cruelty extended far. Britannicus, his stepbrother, was poisoned during a banquet. His wife Octavia was banished and later executed. Senators, generals, and suspected enemies faced exile, forced suicide, or brutal public executions. His reign was a reign of terror. After the fire, Nero needed a scapegoat. He blamed the Christians for starting the blaze. Arrests swept through the city. Secret meetings were broken up. Leaders were dragged out and condemned. If you're enjoying this story, make sure to hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. And don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the next incredible tale from history. The cruelty inflicted on the Christians was unimaginable. They were stripped naked, soaked in pitch, and burned alive as human torches in Nero's gardens. Their screams lit up the night, a grotesque display of torture. Others were thrown to wild beasts, lions, bears and leopards in the arena. The Christians were ripped apart, their flesh torn while crowds cheered. Crucifixion was common, a slow, agonizing death on crosses where Christian victims hung exposed to the elements for hours or days. Families of Christians were torn apart. Mothers watched helplessly as their children were slaughtered. This terror was designed to crush the Christians through fear and pain. Instead of crushing the Christian faith, Nero's cruelty only forged it stronger. Martyrs' stories spread like wildfire, inspiring secret believers and drawing new converts. The Roman public grew weary of Nero's cruelty, and the Senate turned against him. Facing rebellion and desertion, Nero fled Rome. Refusing capture, he stabbed himself in the throat. His last words, "What an artist dies in me." His legacy, madness, cruelty, and rivers of blood. But the Christian faith endured. Nero's reign wielded terror like a weapon. His brutal persecution of the Christians marks a dark chapter, but faith survived and rose from the ashes, a warning. Unchecked power breeds horror, but hope can survive even the darkest nights. Thanks for watching. If you want to explore more amazing stories from history, check out the other videos on my channel. And if you haven't already, subscribe now and join our growing community. Your support helps keep these stories alive.